Comrades of Summer, CCCP. Check it out on any of your streaming services. As Sundance noted, if you can find it for free, preferably in March. Yeah. Although at this rate, you might have to pay for it because it probably has a 29 rating. I think it has a 29 rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And we are live. Let's go. This is the Dos Padres podcast. Here covering all things in the Boston sports scene. And we have a lot to cover in this week's show. We've got Red Sox heading into the ALDS. We've got the Patriots coming off the Brady Bowl, heading to a big game in Houston this weekend. We also have another Fantasy 5 segment for you this week. We've got our Week 5 NFL picks, and we're also going to round it out with another Top 5 segment. This week it's going to be our Top 5 baseball movies.
There we go.
That's the Sundance Kid. I'm Major J. Glad you could join us. Sundance, how you feeling tonight, and what you sipping on?
Okay, I am sipping on none other than a fantastic glass of ice water as it is dripping. Wonderful world of New England early October weather in which you just cannot find the right temperature. Early October New England weather. It still stays warm in the house even without the heat, unless it's 2:00 in the morning. And then you're kind of freezing to death. But again, it's like it gets so warm. Yeah. So I'm sipping on ice water, Major J. That's the long answer to a short question. What are you sipping on?
Well, again, there's nothing wrong with staying hydrated. It's key as the winter weather rolls in. Staying hydrated is key. You don't want your skin to dry out. Terrible stuff. Because I drink so much water during the day, I feel hydrated, so I went with yet another pumpkin ale from Dogfish Head. Same as last week.
Yeah.
It's actually, I haven't had one since last week's show, so I figured might as well pop another one.
Had two up in Northampton, Massachusetts this past weekend. So I can't recommend the Dogfish Pumpkin Ale enough. It is fantastic.
It is fantastic. All right. Well, we've got a lot to cover tonight. We had a big week with the Red Sox last week. I believe our last show, we are coming off of that disappointing series in Baltimore, heading into Washington. And that worked out pretty well, I think. What do you think?
We ended up okay.
Yeah, I think it was okay.
We swept the Nats. We took care of business. We did what we had to do. And in only the 2021 sports universe, we somehow came out with the number one wild card. I wasn't
expecting that. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting that. If you can go back and again, if like you mentioned last week, if we had a professional producer, they could roll back the tape and they go back and look at our coverage last week and see that wasn't feeling great.
It's just this is the strangest sports season that I can remember. The ups and downs are absolutely insane. The streaks, the win streaks, the losing streaks. So the predictability is just completely out the window when it comes to the baseball season.
It's been a snow globe year. I think that's the best way to put it. It's snow globe year. You just shake it up. Maybe don't use that motion, but you get what I'm saying. You just shake it up. It's a snow globe year, and it's just you throw it up and see how it shakes out. It's crazy. We went in, we swept Washington. We were hoping for 2 out of 3. We got the third, which was with some heroics on Sunday, down 5-1 late. I believe it was the 8th inning. Devers comes through with not one but two big home runs to take that game 7-5. Like you said, we went on to with a little help as well, take that first wild card spot. Headed into Tuesday with a home game against the Yankees for that wild card game.
Yeah,
and I think we can move into that, but I kind of just want to use something to lead into that. I find this appropriate.
The pitch to Stanton. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone out of the ballpark. A Stantonian home run. Now, what did I do wrong? What did I say wrong?
I don't know, John. What do you think you missed there?
The best part of the
go ahead.
The best part of the call, I don't even think we heard it. He just said, Stanton standing on first base. What's going on? He's just so utterly confused. What is happening right now?
It was like an old.
Is there a pitching change? Is it a pitching change in the middle of a home run?
It was like he really thought legitimately someone was playing a joke on him in the production booth.
Oh.
To be fair,
he's at first base.
Yep, that's it.
And listen, the Yankees announcers, they are famously entertaining. I've told you this on many occasions.
Yes.
Susan Waldman and John Sterling, they are famously entertaining, even to a Red Sox fan, because of the way they dramatize the game. And John does not seem to have a whole lot of respect for Susan's opinions at times, just dismisses them outright in the most arrogant manner. I mean, it is comedy. It's comedy gold during an actual MLB game, which is just insane. So, of course, we get that call from Sterling. What a game, though, huh? I mean, what a game.
In fairness to Sterling, when it happened live, I think we all thought the ball was gone. The cameraman tricked us. It seemed like it was like Stanton tricked us. It felt like it was gone. But then the camera guy kind of came to, and you saw it getting more of the wall. And like, okay, John Sterling didn't quite catch on that fast, and that's okay. We're still here for him. That's all right. But like you said, what a game. Nasty Nate came to play.
Eovaldi gave us exactly what we needed. The swings and misses, like we were talking about a week or two ago, when he had absolutely none against that terrible start against the Yankees. This one was completely different. I mean, he was dialing it up. He was altering his delivery. It wasn't quite quick pitching. Quick pitching is really more sneaking it by the batter when he's not ready in the box. This was really him just altering his delivery and just speeding things up, changing tempo. And he did such a great job with that. It's funny, though, that you mentioned, the Stanton call, right? I have to be honest. I mean, I watched this game with my older son, who played a lot of baseball, has watched a lot of baseball over the years with Dad. And, I mean, both he and I couldn't judge anything off the bats. We thought swings that were shallow fly balls were gone immediately. We thought, big swings actually turned out to be pop-ups. It was such a crazy game, and maybe that was just our emotions playing with us, because these freaking wild card games are just nuts, how it's just winner take all. Like, this is it. This is your season.
And we talked about this while this was going on, how I vehemently feel like these games, this wild card round should not be one game. The season is 162 games long. If you wanted to put in a second wild card, for TV money, it's awesome, fine. But if you're going to do that, do right by the teams and the players. They played 162 games to earn that right. Make it best out of 3 at least. Don't put it on one game. I absolutely am vehemently against the one game format.
So who agrees with you is probably Aaron Boone and all of his Yankees players today. It's so great
I should
to see
not
them
be whining about that right now, but
So listen,
just as a baseball fan in general.
Listen, you and I both have friends that are Yankees fans. We love them to death. They're good friends on each side. I got to tell you, I heard on the Fan out of New York, Aaron Judge brought in the big boom box. He was seen carrying the big boom box into the clubhouse. He was queuing up Sinatra's New York, New York. He was ready to have that playing. Should they win the game? They brought their pet turtle. That's been some kind of lucky charm. I don't get that. Reptiles, whatever. But that was brought into the clubhouse. My goodness, I wouldn't be shocked if they had 37 cases of champagne on ice in the third inning, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, these guys, they picked the Red Sox. They wanted to play the Red Sox in all those whacked out scenarios.
Right.
They wanted to play the Red Sox. So I'm so glad that we actually came out.
Well, we could accommodate, yes.
And come through. It's just nuts. It really is. It's nuts.
Well, it was a great win, 6-2. We're heading into the ALDS. Game 1 is actually live as we record right now. It is bottom of the third. Tampa is up 3-0, 2 outs. Nelson Cruz hit what I believe is a catwalk triple. We'll find out more about that in a moment. But
looks like a catwalk home run.
Is it a catwalk home run? Oh, we're because right. We're not looking at the A and the B rings, which we won't get into here. But I would love to get a split in this series or in these 2 games here in Tampa to at least get home on Sunday, 1-1, give us a chance with those 2 games at home.
Yeah.
Erod started tonight. He's already at the game. Pavetta on the mound, already bottom of the third. Shane McClanahan started for Tampa. Looked absolutely filthy in the first inning.
Looks tough.
Was really mad, to say the least. I believe tomorrow we have Sale up against Shane Baz, another stud rookie for Tampa, who looks ridiculous down the stretch for them. Just qualified for the postseason. I'm not sure. Probable pitchers. I'm actually got it up here, but in terms of what we're looking at with. So we've got the schedule here coming up through the series, and as usual, teams in MLB not forthcoming with their probable pitchers beyond a day, because after Baz tomorrow, the Sox came out and said Sale's going to be starting tomorrow. I don't really know what this rotation looks like, to be honest with you. We'll take it a day at a time. It's a little interesting. Obviously it's not going to be starting a game. You can't expect. I don't expect. If Valdi in theory would be on normal rest to start Sunday, given the fact he started on Tuesday,
right.
So maybe Nate would be, and we will be in attendance in that game on Sunday as well. So we might be able to provide some live footage for next week's pod. So. Yeah, I mean, again, I think we got to – tonight's already looking tough. We got to get a split. It's going to be tough coming home 0-2 on Sunday. I mean, it can be done. We've done it before. Who knows? But what are your thoughts on these next couple of games in Tampa?
Like you said, got to get a split. Do I feel the season is over if they come back down 0-2? No. I wouldn't be surprised if the Red Sox won 2 games in Boston and then sent it back to Tampa for a game 5. I have to be honest, for me, it's really more about how they play these first 2 games. Would love to win both. That's not looking like it's going to happen. Would love even more to just split. If I'm being honest with you, I'll take a split coming back to Fenway.
Absolutely.
And so if they come back, though, down 0-2, again, this season has been so insane. As long as we don't play sloppy and walk the ballpark, if we lose both these games, it's not that I don't care, but I can live with that as long as we're playing clean baseball. Because I think that gives you a chance in games 3 and 4. So that's what I think. So, I do think the series goes at least 4. I'm going to go there. The series will go at least 4.
Okay, I can get down with that. I would agree. It's so early again. It's only third inning. I still think they have a shot at winning one of these games in Tampa. The fact that Tampa has done this with a completely retooled rotation, you look at their lineup, and this is their MO. You look at their team and you think, how is this team winning 100 games? And you think we can take that. We can do something with that. And then they just beat your brains in. Brandon Lau with his 8,000 home runs or whatever it was this season. Yep. Nelson Cruz, who really, year-end stats are there. And he's putting another Nelson Cruz season, but he had stretches where he wasn't healthy, wasn't hitting the ball for 2 months. You look at his team and don't think they're anything special, but they find ways to win. And the fact that they're doing it with a retooled rotation with a couple of rookies in it says it all.
Okay.
Yeah, I think go ahead.
So I got 2 questions for you, right? The first question is, who's the one guy in the Tampa lineup that you cannot let beat you? That's question 1. Question 2, who is our closer? Because I can tell you definitively who it's not for this series.
I might have an idea for who you're talking
It's not Matt Barnes, who was left off the roster. He was an all-star this year. He was an all-star.
Signed to a massive extension at that. And
so those are my 2 questions.
To answer your first question, I still I think now, normally I would say Nelson Cruz. Right now, I think it's Wander Franco.
Oh, wow.
It's Wander Franco for me.
Okay.
But Nelson Cruz a close second, just because of what he can do. The guy is calm, cool, collected. He's in a series. He DJF. He goes up there and he can hit a 3 home run game any night. But I feel like with everything Wander does, hitting, I think we've second in the lineup, 5-tool, all-world player. That kid is going to be up there at some point. Be talked about with a Juan Soto and these other young stars, Tatis, etc. Wander is the guy I think is emerging and could really be the guy to worry about.
Okay, there is no wrong answer to this, to the pop quiz questions. I'm going to go Brandon Lau for 2 reasons. Okay. Number 1, pronouncing his last name like that is annoying. It's spelled Lowe. That's Lowe, as in Derek Lowe. Derek Lowe, 2004 postseason hero. So it's really annoying to hear Lau. Wow. And secondly, the freaking guy just is the pain in the neck every single series. He comes up with a triple here, a double there. He stretches a single into a double, into a bad throw, which is now a triple. And the ball's in the dugout, and he's trotting home with an inside the park home run. For me, he's that guy that I do not want to see up in a big spot late in the game. The other guys you might get on a strikeout. Lau is just not that guy.
No, that's a good call.
Yeah, closer-wise, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's not Pavetta unless they're asking him for 24 outs tonight. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it actually, I'm saying it. It may be Hansel Robles. I think it's Hansel Robles. I do.
Gretel. Well, you know what? If it is, let's hope we get Hansel Robles and not Gretel Robles. You could be right. And you know what? To your point previously, he has been throwing the ball really well. And he showed that last week as well. When he's locating that 98 stuff and he's not missing too high, he's getting it up high in the zone, just high enough to get the swings and misses, it's nasty.
Right.
Problem is just he's got basically 2 pitches, and when he's not locating that fastball, that's when it's downhill. But he's throwing well now. All you can do is work with what you got. And right now he's throwing the ball well. And you know what? He has closing experience too, for whatever that's worth. I know people like to throw that out, and coaches love that, and teams love that. He has closing experience, with the Angels. and which is another reason why I think Kyle went out and got him at the deadline as well. But I think you're right, and I just hope he has an opportunity to be that guy sometime in the next 4 days.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Obviously, we'll be checking in, and we have a lot to talk about this time next week when we're recording. Either we'll be talking about advancing to the ALCS or commiserating over an ALDS exit. That said, I think that essentially wraps up everything with the Sox for now. I think we can now head into our Patriots preview for the weekend. Coming off of the Brady Bowl, which was fun in itself. We're heading into Houston this weekend. Patriots have a number of players that are having injury issues or didn't practice, etc. Thankfully, we actually have Dr. Christopher Geary joining us again to talk about the injury situation with the Patriots, as well as I think we'll actually touch on a little JD Martinez heel situation too, because we didn't touch on that in this last segment. But let's go ahead and welcome in Dr. Christopher Geary.
What's up, boys?
Hey, what's up, Doc?
How's it going? It's going. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. So yeah, we just finished our Red Sox segment.
Devers opposite field hit.
That's a positive sign.
It's one out in the top of the fourth. Yeah, so it's something. We're putting together a rally. So the one thing we didn't touch on, which I think is a good lead into to your segment here, is JD Martinez left off the wild card roster because of the ridiculous I tripped over second base while running out to the outfield situation.
That's part of his. It's part of his ritual. He has to step
Tripping
on
over
second base
second.
when he runs to the outfield. Yes, it's like okay.
And this time he just misstepped.
Can we modify our ritual to be like jumping over the third baseline? Something imaginary, not something that's bolted to the ground.
Throw salt over your shoulder and bolt it out to right field. I mean, come on.
Pour out some run, hats for bats. Thank you, Jobu. I do it myself.
A whole chicken. Sacrifice a live chicken. Yeah, so sprains his ankle, left off the wild card roster. He is on the roster for this series, not starting tonight, however.
Right.
So that's a good segue to you here as far as from an orthopedic standpoint. Thoughts on his ankle?
It sounds like a pretty bad, severe ankle sprain. Like the kind you get, you're playing pickup hoops, you roll your ankle. That's what he has. I heard Carabas on the radio the other day. He said he saw a picture of it. It was really swollen. So the fact that he's not starting tonight and only is available to pinch hit denotes to me that he's still, it's not good. It's it may or may not be.
I thought I saw a note tonight that maybe he'd be available for tomorrow's game. I'm calling me skeptical. I'll believe it when I see him pinch.
Right. What difference does a day make?
Tonight.
I don't. If he was good enough for tomorrow, he would have played today. He's not playing the field tomorrow or DHing full time.
Right.
So,
well,
thankfully, we have Kyle Schwarber beating out infield hits all night. So it's all good.
Impressive in itself. Well, fantastic. I'm glad you're coming with the good news for us here. So, from there, I think we'll go ahead and lead into the Patriots injury report, which I think is sadly we might have a lot to talk about.
A lot. And
yeah, we go ahead and see if we can bring up.
But I know a little bit about COVID, so.
Well, COVID aside, so looking at this week's practice report.
Let's talk about politics.
Oh, boy. Better yet, let's talk about Trent Brown's calf.
Right.
We talked about this 2 weeks ago when we had you on that show 2 weeks ago, and that was looking tentative. The fact that
he injured it in the first quarter of game one.
Right.
He was walking around on the sidelines, wrapped. He has not played since then. Last week he practiced and was limited. This week he hasn't even practiced. So
what does that say to you from an orthopedic standpoint?
That says he's going the wrong direction.
Regressing.
Yeah. So these calf strains, I mean, it's the kind of thing, it doesn't need surgery. it's not like a long-term thing, but it's the kind of thing, if you go back too soon, you might flare it up. And when you're 6'8" and weigh 340 pounds,
right,
it doesn't take much to flare that up. So the fact that he hasn't practiced this week does not make me feel good about it. So it sounds like quite honestly, like I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play until week 8 or 9 at this point. And they just, they basically fully shut him down and say,
does that
all
signify
right,
like an extensive calf strain, or is that potentially something more or something worse?
No,
So
I think it's just a calf strain. I mean, if you've ever had one, it's pretty miserable. Like you can't, when you think about like trying to push off with your calf, but now you've got some 300-pound animal trying to push you back.
Right.
There's a lot of force going across that muscle. So
fantastic.
The fact that he's still having symptoms doesn't surprise me. And it's one of those things that if they keep trying to bring him back too soon, he's going to keep, re-aggravating it and going out. So,
all right. So it's good that we could potentially be looking at an even more extended absence for Trent Brown. As it is, we're looking at potentially 4 offensive linemen not making this game in Houston between Brown, Shaq Mason, who's also on this list for an abdomen issue, as well as the 2 guys that are having COVID issues as well, which I believe is Anewu and
Isaiah Wynn.
Yeah. So that's potentially an issue. We also have Juwan Bentley limited with a shoulder. Kyle Duggar limited with a hamstring. Nick Folk with a left knee, plant knee. And we have Jonathan Jones ankle. Go ahead.
That's nothing new for Folk, right? He's had that basically all season.
I believe so, but anything with a kicker, going back to what we talked about previously with Quinn Norton as far as the hernia and that's the whole situation.
Right.
Jonathan Jones ankle, which I believe he's been dealing with. You got Mills with a hammy. The one I'm looking at, it's almost like they knew. They bolted it out for us. Kyle Van Noy with a groin. I'm not sure what to think about that. That's potentially an issue if he's limited in terms of lateral movement, rushing.
Yeah, that's a kind of a wastebasket catch-all term. It could be an adductor strain. It could be a hip flexor. It could be a hip labrum. It's probably more of a muscle strain kind of thing.
Okay.
And I would probably anticipate him playing. Out of that list there, I would say Bentley's going to play. Duggar's going to play.
Okay.
Folk's going to play. Jones will play. I don't know about Cody Davis. I don't know what he's dealing with, but what is he, number 22? He's basically a special teams guy.
Yeah, he's a special teamer anyway. So,
right.
Unless it's not like he's a gunner, so I'm not.
Right.
Probably have to learn too much about that. Okay.
Shaq Mason abdomen, I'm not entirely sure what to make of that. That could be sports hernia. It could just be he strained his, he tweaked his abs doing, some 7-minute plank workout. I don't know.
Oh, could
not
be
6-minute abs, 7-minute abs.
7 minute, yeah. Which not that we have any experience in that at all.
Right.
Not that you've been through my YouTube playlist. Anyway, so I guess the biggest concern here is definitely the potential combined 4 offensive linemen missing this game, which, going into Houston, we'd like to think, oh, no big deal. You're missing 4 offensive linemen. That's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
Especially potentially.
And on Winu and Wynn, it really depends on if they were close contacts. If they were vaccinated, they're going to play. If they weren't, they're not going to. So,
yeah. All right. Well, it should be interesting. All right. Well, I think that pretty much sums up the ridiculously long Patriots injury list.
Yes. Well, the one we didn't touch on was James White.
I'm sorry. You know what? No, I think you're right. And that's something I did want to touch on with you. 2 things. One, while we have you, is touching on, it may or may not matter long term, but I am curious in terms of long term prognosis on the James White injury as far as that hip. I know he's not signed past this year, but for sake of, he is on the team this year, and they did bring him back on a 1-year deal, and who knows what the future holds for him. What was your take on that injury?
It's not good. It's the same injury that Bo Jackson had. Which
was originally, wasn't that a hip pointer with Bo?
Well, that
happened,
was like the
correct? Which they-
on-field diagnosis. Then they diagnosed him with
Right,
subluxation.
right.
Subluxation is basically like a transient partial dislocation where it doesn't like go all the way out where you have to pop it back in. It slides out, slides back in. You can that's what Fernando Tatis was having with the shoulder.
Tatis had with the shoulder.
Right.
Right. With the hip, it becomes a little bit bigger deal because you can actually have problems with the blood supply to the hip.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Bo Jackson. So he
Right.
subluxed his hip. His hip was in the socket, but it interrupted the blood supply to the hip, and eventually the head of the femur dies, and then you get arthritis. So he got that pretty precipitously, and then ended up with a hip replacement. Kept playing baseball. I think he's on about his third revision hip replacement now. He's basically metal from his pelvis down to his knee. But, I mean, the odds that happened to James White are not high. The fact that they already ruled him out for the season makes me think that he had an X-ray that didn't show a fracture, but they got a CAT scan, and that showed an acetabular fracture of the socket. And that even if you don't have surgery for that, that's going to take 8 to 10 weeks to heal. So they were like, well, you're done. Like, you're not going to be able to weight bear on this for 8 to 10 weeks. You're not going to rehab to a point where you can actually play in the NFL this year.
So realistically, as far as a rehab on that, like even just whether it's the Patriots or someone else, like realistically, how does that look for him in terms of his future in the league?
Not great. I mean, at his age, especially.
Right.
I mean, that was the reason Tagovailoa fell in the draft. He had a hip dislocation. He had acetabular fracture. So that not only breaks the joint, but it damages the cartilage a lot. So,
right.
I mean, Tagovailoa might be fine today, and 3 years from now, he might be limping all over the place and need a hip replacement. But
he's
that doesn't happen to everyone.
So that's fine.
That's it. There's a big genetic component to this that no one really understands or knows. So James White might be fine. He might, at his age, at that position, like he's about to fall off the cliff anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Either way, do you think he plays again?
No.
I don't either.
No,
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, which is sucks. I love the guy. But no, I think this kind of injury, the fact they've already ruled him out for the whole year, like I don't see him coming back and playing at a high level in the NFL.
Yeah. Yep. I had that first thought when the report came out that it was a hip injury immediately, and they ruled him out for the season. I thought I didn't realize I didn't link it to Bo Jackson. That is interesting, but I immediately in my head said, to your point, backside of his career, this could be it for him. So.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us into another one, which is actually a little more relevant to this past week with the Stephon Gilmore trade at the last minute for a 6-rounder to Carolina, 2023 6-rounder. With regards to obviously a lot of money.
For the record, I'm pretty sure I could get a 2023 6-rounder for you right now. So I really like the way that was.
You should take that. It's a steal, actually. We might have to make some calls.
I would encourage you. Cone drill was sick.
Again, I have a healthy groin. You should see my lateral movement.
I don't want to see.
Yeah, as far as the fair enough, the quad situation with Gilmore, which led to all this to begin with. What's your take on the quad injury, surgery, et cetera, that kind of led them to be so apprehensive about the contract extension and want to make sure they save money, which eventually led to, and I know the backdrop was they wanted the extra money potentially to sign Jamie Collins and all that, and they butted against to the point where they had to make a decision. And it's clearly they just did not want to risk anything, especially with him being a pending free agent after the season, anything to do with wasting money on someone who might be damaged goods, so to speak, because of that quad injury and that surgery. So do you have any insight as far as what that surgery was and what, the outlook is for him in terms of health, mobility, et cetera?
It's an unusual injury in that usually with quads, it's like you're pregnant or you're not pregnant. Like with your quad, either you tear the quad or you don't tear the quad. Right. And it seems like in his case, he might have had like a partial tear of the tendon off the bone that they eventually repaired, because he did have surgery and then he had to rehab from it. But like if you actually tear your quad tendon off your patella, like you can't even walk. And there was a period of time and it was like, oh, he's managing it. He's doing this, he's doing that. and then he ends up having surgery. So to me, it sounds like a partial quad tear, which I mean should heal long term. Shouldn't be that big a deal for him, but he's also, I mean, what is he, 29?
I think almost 31 now, isn't he?
Yeah,
I might be misremembering that, but he's not. Granted, it's different for non-running backs, but the age model still applies to players who have to play a rigorous position.
There's not a lot of number one shutdown corners that play into their 30s. You get guys like McCourty that transition to safety, things like that, but you don't pay those guys that much money. So it'll be very interesting to see how he performs when he comes back for Carolina this year, because that seems like an injury he should be able to come back from. But at that position, you lose half a step, or like you're a little slower on the rotational movements, like you're just kind of screwed. So
all right, good to know. All right, well that wraps up our injury segment here going into the Patriots. Dr. Geary, we really appreciate you joining us. Thanks for coming on. It's been
thanks for having me.
Not great news necessarily with everything, but we appreciate you enlightening us.
Let's be honest. When was the last time you asked me a question that was great news? I'm pretty much the orthopedic Grim Reaper around here. So
I'll have to think through the past decade. Yeah. All right. We appreciate you coming on, and we look forward to having you again in the future. Thanks so much.
And I'll see you Sunday.
Yes, all right, Doc. The three of us, again, that's a plug. The three of us will be in attendance at Game 3 at Fenway. Dos Padres, con El Dr. Geary. We may have some coverage to go ahead and blast some people on social media with. We'll see you Sunday.
Sounds good. Thanks guys.
Take care. Dr. Geary, always a good time.
Hey, I apologize, but I got to log off. My agent just texted me. I have a tryout with the Patriots tomorrow for offensive line, so I'm going to have to get some rest.
Cut this short? Yeah, absolutely. You go do that.
Jeez, this is not. It doesn't matter. This is not looking good for the Pats with the offensive line. You've got guys that are battling, pretty significant injuries, not season ending, but it's going to take some time for them to come back. And listen, if we had Tom Brady right now, you figure no worries. We can get by until late November. But, with this team, you don't know if you're going to win, the first quarter against the Texans this weekend. So
Sundance, you're forgetting we do have all-world quarterback, 19 straight completions, Mr. Mac Jones. So,
yeah, listen, I love our quarterback right now.
That's impressive.
To recap quickly, the Brady Bowl, right? It was an awesome game. You couldn't ask for anything more as a Patriots fan except for a win. I heard a lot of crap for Belichick going for the field goal on fourth down there. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are there. I thought it was the right move. I know it was a downpour. I know it was 55 yards or whatever it was, and I know it was Nick Folk.
It was a he missed
it. Yep. He missed it off the upright. I mean, you don't get any closer than that.
Agreed. My take in the moment was, what the fuck, you're going for this? I was vehemently against it. I thought for sure, based on, not that Bill's a huge analytics guy, and a lot of this is, in retrospect, all the analytics people are out there blasting and stuff, and I get it. I also don't think in the moment, Bill's sitting there looking at his iPad or we're trying to figure out the percentages. That's not realistic. But I thought, just based on the feel, as you just quoted, the rain, the situation, they're moving 4th and 3 in enemy territory with, granted, a lot of faith in Nick Folk. I thought they should have gone for it just because, and again, this is backed up after the fact. A lot of analytics of different sites said, there was probably, give or take, a 10% better probability of a chance that they make, they should have gone for it on 4th as opposed to kicking it. That's fine. That's all well and good. I don't buy too much into that stuff after the fact. That's fine. I just felt like in the moment, the way I was reading the situation, I felt like they should have gone for it. They were moving the ball. The way Mac was completing passes, they weren't driving deep. They didn't have to drive deep. He was hitting those completions for 5-6 yards pretty consistently.
Yeah.
Even with knowing it was coming, obviously, I felt confident. I felt good about going for it in that spot as opposed to trying to kick a 56-yarder, which I believe they said would have been a career long for Folk as well. And the thing is, Folk, I think he's been much better than I expected going back a couple years now. But in that moment, I thought they should have gone for it.
Okay, that's fine.
I understand. I understand kicking it though. I wouldn't say I'm again shake my fist angry, but I thought they should have gone for it.
Word of the night, vehemently. You've been playing too much Word Crush on your phone there. You know what? Here's the thing. You at least it presented an opportunity to win the game, whereas the 4th and 3, you're not throwing it to the end zone. You're simply looking to extend the drive, right? And so
Sure.
let's say it's, geez, what do you think they were going to call there? Maybe a screen pass? Like that's, all McDaniels has in his playbook. And listen, they had some nice trick plays in this game. Don't get me wrong. We talked about that last week. We knew they were absolutely going to be bringing out all of the tricks.
Right.
But, oh my goodness, they've got to drop the screen pass. It gets, sniffed out every single time.
To be fair, you're also forgetting that 5-yard dump into the middle of the field to get your receiver killed by the middle linebacker as well. Because I don't know how many times you saw that where he'd hit a receiver. And granted, he got it out quick enough so the receiver could catch it. But I don't know how many times we saw, especially as part of that 19 straight completions, we saw how many of those were to his receiver in the middle of the field or within 5 yards and getting absolutely crunched by a defensive player immediately as he caught the ball. So I will say about 19 straight, a lot of credit went to the receiving core for that. Not taking anything against Mac, deadly accurate during that game, but there were a number of plays where it's like you're going to get somebody killed.
Yeah, for me, it was a great game. It lived up to the hype. We almost won. Moral victory. I don't care about there are no moral victories. Yes, there are. We have a really good quarterback, and he's really young. We just actually have to protect him and give him time to throw the ball. So that's what I think.
Bringing up the protection issue, that leads us perfectly back into this game coming up Sunday in Houston, potentially down 4 offensive linemen. I mean, Houston has become a joke in the league at this point. The way they've just mishmashed any veteran they can find off the street, put them on that roster, see what happens. You have the backdrop of the Deshaun Watson situation, which isn't going away as much as they want to sweep it under the rug. They're trying to trade him behind the scenes hardcore.
Yep.
We'll see what happens there. But again, they have Davis Mills at quarterback, who looks putrid to say the least. They have a mishmash of running backs between Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay and Rex Burkhead's there. There's a lot of stuff going on. Danny Amendola, old friend, is also going to be back this weekend playing in the slot. So they released Anthony Miller. Old friend Brandon Cooks on the outside, which has basically been their only real bright spot in that team offensively. Normally I'd say we're going to go in, and I don't want to be not the homer pick, but they should win handily. However, when you don't have an offensive line to speak of and you're playing all backups, that can be an equalizer. I do think they're going to try to rely on the run game and try to just hammer it with Harris. I have a feeling Stevenson will be active for this game. We'll see what happens there. But like you just said, Mac showed enough coming out of this Tampa game. I think that was that could be a linchpin game for him in terms of takeaways and building his resume in terms of feeling good and going out there and getting comfortable. So this could be still a really good game for him and Jacoby Myers, I think. I still think the Pats will win despite the offensive line situation, but it is concerning not having all those guys potentially. Maybe those 2 guys will come off of the COVID list and it won't be as big of an issue, but I don't think we can count on that either. So we'll see.
No, this is must win. I think they will win. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, over analyzing it. It's the Houston Texans. I don't care if it's, played on the owner's, front yard. I don't care where this game is being played. The Patriots should win this game 30-10. I will say this, with all these issues with the offensive line, remember a few years ago when we had that speedster wide receiver, his name escapes me, but they started, lining him up in the backfield and he was running the ball. He's still in the league. He's played for the Bears. He's played for the Raiders. I'll Google it and find it for a little bit later. But the Patriots need to find a role for N'Keal Harry immediately, or get him off the team. Put him on the offensive line. I'm going to say that right now.
He's wasting a roster spot.
Put him on the offensive line to block if he can't do anything else to save his life. I think the only thing I think he can do is block as a receiver. I think that's simply because of his size. The guy switched his number to 1. He is number 1. That is his jersey number. Dude,
you can't do that.
You better figure out how to do something,
right,
one thing really well, or please retire,
move on.
Go move on, go play Xbox professionally, do whatever you need to do. But he is absolutely a waste of a roster spot, and they've got to find a role for him.
I don't disagree. I mean, we do have the in-season trade deadline is coming up in a few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be looking at that again like they were in the offseason.
Who would trade for him? Who would trade for him in their right mind? Who would trade a 40th round draft pick, if that even exists in the NFL? Who would trade that?
I can tell you who. I'm not saying it will happen, but I can tell you the type of person who would do that.
Sure.
John Gruden.
Gruden
would do that.
There are a few, there are a few fools out there. I apologize, and we digress. Go ahead, Major J. Where are we going next?
All right, so we're going to wrap up our Patriots segment here. That would lead us into our Fantasy 5 segment. We tried this last week. 5-player situations that I felt like, we need to put out there. I have feelings on, wanted to throw out there. We're going to lead off with Laviska Shenault. Number 5, Laviska Shenault. He's 70% owned on Yahoo. He is, he's stepping into potentially a bigger role in that Jags offense with the DJ Chark injury. DJ Chark shattered his ankle last week. You now have Shenault, who probably will still be playing in the slot, but you've got Tavon Austin, who steps into that extra receiver role on the outside, and Tavon Austin isn't scaring anyone. I think it's going to provide extra opportunity for Shenault. I think he can take advantage of it. Remember, this is also a Jag team coached by Urban Meyer, who is completely YOLO, DGAF. They throw the ball. They don't seem to make any sense with the way they're playing at all. I think this potentially adds up to Shenault seeing more opportunity and scoring more fantasy points.
Cool.
Let's see. Next up, we have Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs, obviously owned in all leagues, first-round pick. I'd say you go out and trade for him if you can. He's return value has been good. He hasn't been quite the blow-up first-round guy everyone thought he was to start. I think that's going to change after this weekend. They've got a big game coming up against Kansas City. High point total. I think you potentially could see Diggs blow up this week or in the near future the way Tyreek Hill blew up last week with his 3 touchdowns. I think if you're ever going to try to get him, now's the time. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to trade for him. Number 3 is going to be Kenneth Gainwell. He running back from the Philadelphia Eagles. Currently has worked himself into essentially a complete timeshare with Miles Sanders. They're essentially splitting snaps. Gainwell, though, is getting those lucrative third down running back snaps, which we love in fantasy, which means he's potentially getting targets out of the backfield, which means extra opportunity for points. Targets are worth a lot more than carries in fantasy. This coaching staff doesn't have any real allegiance to Miles Sanders as a starter. Sanders has been relegated to first and second down at this point. I think you could continue to see this timeshare going forward, or Gainwell potentially even getting more snaps and overtaking Sanders as a starter. This offense has been all about passing. Hurts is leading it, opening running lanes. I think Gainwell is a good get right now. He is 41% owned on Yahoo. I think if you can add him. If you can get him thrown into a trade as well, I would absolutely do that going forward. Number 2, Alvin Kamara. This is a bit of a crazy one. This one's out there. I would say if you're an Alvin Kamara owner, I'm not saying you should go and trade him at all costs. I would absolutely be exploring the possibility of what you can get for Alvin Kamara right now. The Saints offense is slow-paced and they're running the least offensive snaps in the league far and away. Sean Payton is absolutely trying to hide Jameis Winston and make sure he does not go YOLO ball and start throwing his interceptions from a couple of years ago. I would, and that's affecting Kamara. Kamara had his first game of his career last week without a target. His targets are down in general. They're using him more as a traditional running back. Still a good running back. I think, unfortunately, now he's looking more like a high-end running back 2 as opposed to the RB1 we were drafting him as in the top 5. If you can go ahead and get ample value for him, I would absolutely be exploring it right now. Which takes us to number 1. It's going to look a little familiar. It's Trey Lance. You say, wow, that does look familiar.
You don't say.
Why it looks familiar? He's number 1 from last week as well. And in all honesty, in part, it's because I didn't want to update the graphic. But it's also because this is how much I believe in this kid as potentially being a game breaker. I couldn't predict it, but Jimmy Garoppolo ended up with a calf contusion injury, left last week's game. Lance came in, was a bit out of sorts. The game plan was not structured around him at all. He freelanced it a bit, pun intended there, and still wound up with 20-plus fantasy points in one half of play. Garoppolo's not looking good for Sunday. They haven't ruled him out. Not looking good, though. I think they're going into a bye for next week. I think this is a perfect opportunity to start Lance and see what they've got against Arizona. This could be a high-scoring game. I really think this is Lance's opportunity to potentially seize this starting quarterback role going into the bye. Lance is actually, 41% owned on Yahoo. If you can add him, hopefully you're able to get him off waivers this week. If you weren't, he's available. I would add him now, absolutely. If you get him in a trade, I think I would be looking at as well. He has top 6-8 quarterback potential. The second half of the season could win your league. If you have a good quarterback already, it enables you the opportunity to trade that starting quarterback and use Lance as your starter. Absolutely go out and get him if you can. Yeah, that sums up our Fantasy 5 for this week. One thing I actually did want to talk about in this segment as well is, in fantasy in general right now, we're 4 weeks in. Anyone who's being honest with themselves should have an idea of what their team looks like at 4 weeks in, whether you're 0-4, 4-0, et cetera. You really need to be looking, taking a step back, being objective, and looking at your team and saying, what do I need? If you're 4-0,
pretty similar to the NFL. Exactly. Similar to the NFL. I think coaches are all taking a step back and analyzing, okay, what would I do, in 4 weeks at the trade deadline? Because this is what we look like we are.
Right. Exactly. And you need to be, again, it's all about being honest with yourself, but you need to take a step back and look objectively at your team and say, all right, I'm 0-4, 1-3, maybe even 2-2. I probably need some wins now. You need to start looking at, that's where a trade of Alvin Kamara would come into play here. If you're an Alvin Kamara owner, you need to probably be exploring that a little more to try to see how you can help your team to scratch and claw and get some wins now. If you're 4-0, 3-1, you can afford to start taking some chances, looking down the road a little bit, getting some upside, getting these players, because you're not worried about your starting lineup. So as one thing is you need to be doing that now, a month in, and not wait any longer, because you wait another week or two and your season could be over. Otherwise, if you have a good record, prepping for the second half run, you start doing that now as well, and kind of taking advantage, unfortunately, of the owners who are not in a good position and getting some talent off of them. The other point I want to make now as well is, obviously, weekly waivers are a big deal. Hand in hand with this, we're now getting into bye week season. Just as important as your normal weekly waivers that are clearing on a Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, because you have teams that are going to start panicking a little bit, making moves to try to improve their team now, also going to the bye weeks, you're going to have that secondary run of waivers the second part of the week on Friday and Saturday, looking at the guys who were dropped by those owners who went and made those initial waiver claims. there's generally a lot of talent that's available the second round of waivers at the end of the week that's being dropped by those owners, ill-advised. A lot of times you can get great talent on that second round of waivers from players who are dropped by other owners. They're just as good as close to as good as the guys you could have got on waivers anyway. So be diligent, keep working that waiver wire, watch the transaction list and see who is dropped and try to sneak in and get those guys if you can at the end of the week. All right. That concludes our fantasy 5, more like 10 to 12 this time, whatever. We can go ahead and move into our week 5 NFL Padres picks, which is always a fun segment for us. Yeah.
Not always.
Not always, but I do want to go ahead. Let's see if we can find our record from last week. Okay. So last week, week 4, not as good of a week as we've had previously. As you can see by the graphic, I went 8-8. Sundance went 5-11. Probably could do without the kissy face on that record, which puts us at a season record. I'm 27-21. Sundance, you are down to 25-23. Two games back. So we will take that into this week's picks. Now, we did offline go ahead and decide on a weekly prize for the season winner. So we've decided on the season winner as far as overall record for our picks. The loser is actually going to be responsible for providing, hand delivering a 6-pack of microbrewed beer monthly to the winner through the summer of 2022. So there's, some good stakes there. I would say stakes are high to an extent, and if only the fact that it forces one of us to get in the car and drive a number of miles to visit the other and bestow upon them the gift of a lovely ale. I believe going into this week, we had the Rams visiting Seattle tonight. The line was 2.5 going into that game. I had taken the Rams. You had taken Seattle. I haven't seen the score. I'm not sure I want to see the score right now for purposes of just not wasting any more time. We're going to go ahead and bring up the DK Sportsbook lines so we can start moving through that for week 5. There we are. First game on the docket. Jets at Falcons. Falcons giving 3. Sundance, I'm going to let you start with this one.
Okay. I am taking the Atlanta Falcons for no other reason than the fact that they are the home team. So I have no solid analysis on this game. Both of these teams are pretty terrible. I will take the ATL.
Fantastic. I am going to be taking the Jets getting a 3, only because this game, essentially not really a home game for Atlanta. It's in London at 9:30 in the morning. How miserable is that? I'm just going to assume it's raining because it's London. Atlanta is also going to be traveling without their top receiver, Calvin Ridley, who today was ruled out for personal reasons, whatever that is. All right, next up, we have New England going to Houston. New England's giving 8.5. This one I had a tough time with, went back and forth. Ultimately, I'm going to go with the Patriots giving the 8.5, even though it's a big number, because Houston is just absolutely putrid. They don't know what they're throwing out on that field right now. They have, again, quote unquote, Davis Mills at quarterback. I think even if the Patriots are missing offensive linemen, Mack in the running game and Myers can do enough to win this game by 10.
I don't disagree. I'm on that train. I'm going to call the score right now, like I did earlier, 30-10 Patriots. This is a gotta-have-it game. They gotta have it. It's an absolute must. If you win this game, the following week you're playing the Jets for an opportunity to get back to 500, or at least, to pull closer. No, yeah, to get to 500. They'd be 3-3 at that point if they could knock off the Jets. So, I'm going 30-10 Patriots.
All right. Next game, we have Miami traveling to Tampa. Tampa is giving 10. Sundance, what's your thoughts on this one?
Miami is an absolute mess right now. They are they, who's going to call the offense? They've got the two coordinators there that are kind of splitting the responsibilities. I know it kind of works for Belichick in New England on the defensive side with his son and Gerard Mayo splitting those duties, but we think it's really Bill's son now, making those calls. I am taking Tampa all day, every day.
Same here. I think Tampa, after the last couple of weeks, they obviously had that loss to LA. They had a very tough game in New England last week, and Tom and company very happy to get that win. I think they're going to reassert themselves. They come in and they absolutely clear the 10 points of Miami. Next up, we have Green Bay heading to Cincinnati. Green Bay giving 3 points. I am actually going to be giving the 3 with Green Bay. Comes down to Cincinnati, I think, is going to be without Joe Mixon. You couple the fact that they have essentially no run game with no Mixon back there. Offensive line is going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough for Burrow to get the ball to all those receivers without a run game backing him up. I think Rodgers and Adams and Aaron Jones and company are going to be too much. I'm going to give the 3, take Green Bay.
I'll take Cincinnati. They're at home. I've been on the home teams for this podcast, so I'm going to stick with the home team here.
Yes. This game in Cincinnati, not in London. So you're absolutely take those 3 points. Next, we have Tennessee at Jacksonville. Tennessee giving the 4. Sundance, your thoughts here?
I'm really tempted to take Jacksonville, pulling it out for the Gipper, right? What a terrible, terrible week for Urban Meyer. But I can't do it. I'm sorry. It's 2021. You see Tennessee totally crap the bed one week, and they're going to look like a Super Bowl contender this week. I'll take Tennessee.
Yeah, same. I'm going to give the 4 with Tennessee. As we've already noted multiple times, Jacksonville is a complete show at this point with Urban Meyer and company, both on and off the field. Tennessee potentially getting A.J. Brown back. I think they can win this by a touchdown. Next game we have is Philadelphia. We'll just scroll down here. Philadelphia going to Carolina. Carolina giving the 3. This game, I had to think about this one. I'm going to go ahead and give the 3 and take Carolina. I think they're going to come back defensively. They had a bit of a gaffe at Dallas, gave up a lot of points there, but that's Dallas. All-world offense right now. I think Carolina gets right, pressures and gets to Hurts, makes Philly kind of do some things. I don't think Philly can keep up. I'm going to take Carolina, giving the 3.
McCaffrey playing?
Also, that's up in the air. He's been practicing the last couple days on a limited basis. The talk is he might be able to play Sunday, not confirmed. I wouldn't be surprised if they hold him out another week, but it's a possibility.
I'll go with Carolina.
Okay. Next game we have here is Detroit going to Minnesota. This line has been growing. We're now up to a full 10 points that Minnesota is giving. Sundance, what are your thoughts on this?
I still kind of believe in Detroit. I'm going to take the Lions. I think Dan Campbell's doing good things there. Again, this might turn into a 3-14 season. That's fine. I'm going to take Detroit.
Yeah, I had a tough one with this one. Originally, I was going to take Detroit. Taking 10 points is a lot for a divisional game, even if it's on the road. More I looked at it, I'm actually going to take Minnesota, giving it 10. Detroit, while they've been competitive, they fought, etc., they're other than that comeback against San Francisco, they've been scoring between 14 to 17 points a week. Not very inspired on offense. They just lost by 10 points at Chicago, and we've talked about those issues there with Matt Nagy and Justin Fields, etc. I think Minnesota, after playing a pretty tough game and taking that tough loss last week at home to Cleveland, I think they come out. Kirk Cousins goes YOLO and hits Thielen and Jefferson. Cook should play. I think Minnesota can slam dunk Detroit in this game. Give me Minnesota, give me the 10. Next, we've got Denver at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh giving 1. Yeah, as much as it pains me to say this, I'm going to go ahead and take Pittsburgh, giving the 1 point for no other reason, simply because Teddy Bridgewater is not looking good with the concussion. You're saying Drew Lock is going to be the quarterback on this team? I'm out. Pittsburgh -1, done. That's my analysis.
Thank you, Denver. It kills me to pick Pittsburgh. Roethlisberger is total shame spiral right now. He is on the proverbial cliff, as Max Kellerman would say. I'm gonna roll with it. I'm gonna take Denver. I'm gonna try to make up these 2 games this week. Give me Denver.
Denver +1. All right, I like it. Next game we have is New Orleans traveling to Washington. New Orleans giving 2.5. Sundance, how you feeling here?
You have no idea what you're going to get with the Saints. You have this is the 2021 version of the NFL. You have no idea if you're getting the good Sean Payton, Alvin Kamara show with a Jameis Winston special. On the flip side, I like Ron Rivera. They are at home, but I don't like their team that much either. So I'm going to roll with the Saints on this one.
Okay. I'm actually, this was a tough one for me as well, but I'm actually going to take Washington getting the 2.5. What it comes down to is I just don't trust New Orleans offense. As much as I trust Sean Payton, I don't trust the way this offense is playing right now, and I don't trust it behind Jameis Winston for opposite reasons that we didn't trust him a couple of years ago. I just don't trust him operating this offense in this weird, slow, dink and dunk, methodically knock you out process. I don't like it. I think Washington – I didn't like what I saw from the Saints against the Giants last week. Obviously, it's one game. You can't take too much from it. I think them traveling, this could be another letdown. Something's just not right with that Saints team. They should play well defensively, but I think Washington can do enough with their parts. Heineke's been playing well at quarterback. Terry McLaurin is looking ridiculous at receiver. I think they can do enough. I'll take 2.5 at home. Next up is Cleveland going to LA, take on the Chargers. Chargers giving 2. This game, I'm actually going to take LA. Cleveland, great win at Minnesota last week. That said, Baker Mayfield not playing well, and he's now has a shoulder injury. It's his non-throwing shoulder. I just don't think they can go out and win a game a second week in a row on the road the way they did at Minnesota last week. Chargers are playing well. Herbert's throwing well. All their offensive pieces are clicking. I think Mike Williams gets back in the mix this week after being kind of held in anonymity last week to, I believe, 1 catch out of nowhere. But I think the Chargers take it, so I'll go ahead and give the 2.
Yeah, I'm with you on this pick as well. I saw that injury update with Baker Mayfield playing with a partially torn labrum in his opposite shoulder, not his right shoulder, not his throwing shoulder, but in his left shoulder. That's not overly comfortable. That's going to start to affect him a little bit. I'm going to take LA. Okay.
Next game of the 4:00 slate, we have the Bears going to Las Vegas. Vegas giving 5.5. This seems like another one of those games where is Las Vegas real? In this case, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to take the Raiders giving 5.5. You got Justin Fields starting for the Bears. I think it's going to make it interesting. Could make it some fun. I still think there's going to be enough issues with the Bears and offense going to Vegas. I think Vegas is going to be able to do enough offensively to go ahead and cover the number. Sundance, what do you think?
Vegas is really fun to watch right now. I mean, they like to air it out. They're one of those teams that you're kind of hoping is playing on Thursday night, Sunday night, or Monday night because, man, they are fun to watch. I'm going to take Vegas at home.
All right. That brings us to the Giants traveling to Dallas. Here we go. These numbers come down a bit. It was at 7. Dallas is now down to giving 6.5. Interesting game. NFC East throwdown. Sundance, what do you think here?
Dallas all day, every day. Too many weapons. I know I've banged on Mike McCarthy, quite a bit. What he's doing right now, he's so stupid but so smart at the same time. He's got great coaches and coordinators right now, and he is just receding into the background, right? Like he is Homer Simpson, just
Homer Simpson gif, just going.
He is just disappearing into the ivy, and he is letting his coaches coach and his players play. He's a figurehead coach right now. Dallas is going to win big. I'm rooting for the Giants. You know, I've got some coworkers that are big Giants fans, and they live and die with them just like Patriots fans do. But it ain't happening in Big D. Not this week. And a good friend of mine's a Dallas fan, and he tells me they're just lighting it up right now. So I'll take Dallas.
I as well. I'm going to take Dallas. I actually had them when they were at 7. So if you're telling me it's going to be 6.5 now, I'm going to go ahead and take Dallas at that number as well. Another 4:25 kickoff. Niners going to Arizona. Arizona giving 4.5. This is going to be an interesting game. I don't know what to think here. It could be a bonanza. Sundance, what do you think?
I'm going to take the Niners. I am going against my better judgment. With these picks, you've got the inner compass, right? On the left is the data. It's the standings. It's the margin of victory. And on the right, your compass is what your heart tells you, what your feelings are on certain players and coaches. I should be taking Arizona, but I think something special is going to happen this weekend with San Francisco, and they're getting the points. I'm going to take San Francisco.
Yeah, potentially it's going to be I'm sure the line's going to move a lot based on this, but this is potentially the Trey Lance start. Look at the over-under of 49. This could be an interesting game. Lance versus Murray could be something we could be seeing for a long time in this division. I as well am going to take the Niners.
Oh, no.
I'm taking the Niners, getting the 4.5. I think they can be run on. I think that run game with Trey Sermon's going to step up between Lance. Lance is going to open up some holes. Debo's there. I think they can keep it close enough. That rolls us into the Monday night game. I'm sorry, the Sunday night game, which should be a fun one. Buffalo going to Kansas City. Kansas City giving 3. I'm taking Buffalo, getting the 3 points here. I think this is actually going to be my upset special. Kansas City, if for no other reason, Kansas City just looks so bad on defense. Buffalo has already shut 2 teams out this year. Offensively, they're clicking, and they haven't even gotten Stephon Diggs, we talked about in our Fantasy 5 segment. Stephon Diggs hasn't even gotten going yet. This could be it. I think Buffalo goes in and actually wins at Arrowhead.
I think you're right, but I'm not going to pick against Kansas City at home. Give me the Chiefs.
Fair enough. That takes us to our Monday night game. We wrap it up with Indy. The Colts going to Baltimore. Ravens giving 7. Sundance, what do you got?
You're supposed to go with the home team. Harbaugh is a really good coach. Lamar Jackson's not necessarily injured.
Right.
Colts are, just a boring team. No, not going to happen again. Give me Baltimore.
All right. I as well. I'm taking Baltimore -7. Indy is not impressing me offensively at all. I think last week was more about Miami in the bed than it was Indy actually doing something themselves. I'm not buying into it. I'm not buying into Wentz. I think there's enough issues there. I'm going to go ahead and take Baltimore -7, trying to run the ball down their throats. This is going to be another game for Lamar Jackson, trying to put his stamp on, making a run at MVP, rivaling Kyler Murray. All right, that wraps up our picks for the week. It should be interesting. We'll have to go back and see what we end up really head-to-head on with those and see how it shakes out for the week. But we've got our prize now. We've got our drinks
we do
at stake here, which is going to be fun. So that takes us into our last segment of the night, which is our top 5 baseball movies. And we're going to alternate here. This should be a fun one. I think this will be fun. I think this is one a lot of people can get behind. I think this was a good one, a good exercise to try to play out. I had to write them out. It was tough. I was able to narrow it down though, 5 through 1. That said, I am going to let you lead off, Sundance. Please come to me with your number 5 all time.
All right. BT Dubs, Cordero Patterson was the Patriots player I was thinking of, the wide receiver with the insane speed.
I was going to say that, but I let it go. But ironically, he's the one who's actually out there balling out for Atlanta right now in this weird running back wide receiver hybrid role. Mainly because Atlanta can't do anything else offensively, so they have to rely on their trickery with this guy. But
all right, back to the top 5 baseball movies. All right, I cheated on number 5. I picked 2. Sue me. I went with.
We tend to have a cheat every week, so sure.
A combination here of Mr. Baseball, starring Tom Selleck. Boy, I tell you, if there is any actor that played a baseball player any more realistically, it was Tom Selleck in Mr. Baseball. I mean, Charlie Sheen to me is a close number 2 from Major League, but I have to say, Tom Selleck crushing the ball left-handed. I don't care if it was in Japan. It was really cool, and it was really impressive. So number 5 is Mr. Baseball / a totally unknown baseball movie called The Comrades of Summer, starring Joe Mantegna. And you know this one. I think this was. This was like. This was on it.
Just make your top 6. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm stealing at the moment from you. Please enlighten me, along with anyone who's still watching or listening, about the Comrades of Summer.
If you put on HBO at 4:00 in the morning, anytime between 1992 and 1994, I guarantee you, some iteration of the Comrades of Summer was playing. It was an HBO-produced movie, if I'm not mistaken, and it was about the Soviet Olympic baseball team being managed by a disgraced MLB manager, former MLB manager. It's not a great movie, but there's something. There's just something genuine about it, and Joe Mantegna did a nice job with it. So those are my top 5 combo.
Okay, it's tough to follow that up. My number 5, not as off the beaten path as the Comrades of Summer, starring Joe Mantegna, also of Money Pit fame, but whatever. Mine is The Sandlot. Very traditional, obvious one. I don't care if it's cliche. It's a good movie.
Yep.
It's a fun time.
Yep.
It's a conversation starter, if for no other reason than to say, what the hell was up with Small's hat with the longest brand in history?
Yep.
Legit conversation. We could go on for a half hour about that. We won't.
Yep.
Dennis Leary, nice cameo in there. As a stepdad, that was a good time. The dog eating the ball, all that slobber. Good times. Benny flying around the bases with the Dodgers. Just
Arliss Howard narrating the entire movie. He's just got that great, caramel smooth voice. I agree. Yeah, it's a good one. It didn't make my top 5, believe it or not, and I'll get killed by probably a lot of traditionalists, but it didn't make my top 5.
Based on your number 5s, I anyway, I'll go ahead and move us into number 4. Number 4, this is about as close as I can get to your Comrades of Summer. I probably will get a little bit of flack for this. I don't care. It's a guilty pleasure. Sue me. Summer Catch, starring Jessica Biel. Yes. Summer Catch is number 4 for me. It's got Summer League Baseball. It's got fun. It's got humor. It's got fooling around in the press box while I get set on fire. Freddie Prinze Jr. starring in there. Hometown kid makes good, makes it to the majors for the Phillies at the end. That's always fun. Did I mention Jessica Biel? I might have. It stars Jessica Biel, who at the time was coming off of fame from Seventh Heaven, I believe. Before she was with Justin Timberlake. Most of this really doesn't matter at all in terms of the movie, but making a general point, guilty pleasure, I love it. Summer Catch, number 4, Sue Me. Sundance, what's your number 4?
Wow. I'm still, spinning in orbit from Summer Catch. That's pretty crazy. I went Bad News Bears. There is just nothing funnier than Walter Matthau and his cranky sense of humor coaching, some ragtag kids that want nothing to do with the game. Some of them, telling them to just, go kick rocks and spitting in his eye. And, as a dad that coached Little League, I just identify with it as he's, picking up the bat, hitting ground balls, and watching crap all over the field. And understanding that, this is a game that teaches you things about life as much as it does about sports. So, number 4, Bad News Bears.
Bad News Bears. That's a good one. Okay. So, what's your number 3?
Number 3. I had trouble with 1, 2, and 3. I went Major League. Classic. I mean, Randy Newman, cue the Cleveland music. It's phenomenal. This one, it does touch your soul, for me at least, because I was, 10, 11, 12 when the movie came out. And it is... 1988, yeah. It is just, it's just one of those awesome baseball movies that's got, just the right amount of, PG humor with a little bit of hijinks mixed in. And Charlie Sheen is just a badass. And it's the height of Tom Berenger, in his heyday, Jake Taylor. So,
Jake
that's
Taylor,
my number 3.
Calling his shot. Okay, I can get down with that. My number 3, I have a feeling this one's nowhere near your just a hunch, not near your top 5. You're probably going to scoff at it. I happen to like it. Not quite Summer Catch-esque. Number 3 for me is For Love of the Game, starring Kevin Costner. I personally, not, and the thing is though, it's not really at its heart not totally a baseball movie. But
not really good either. But
I happen to like it. I thought Billy Chappell on the mound fighting his
Billy Chappell.
Granted, at the end, throwing the no-hitter, fine. Yeah, far-fetched, ridiculous, sure. But the way they married that story on the mound with his personal story, his demons, his issues with Kelly Preston, etc. I never really liked it when it first came out. My brother actually really loved it. I gave it a second or third shot, and it grew on me. And, when they meet up in the airport at the end and have the big kiss and they end up together, I mean, you can't turn that away from that. I mean, it's Americana right there. Maybe my Americana. Americana's changed a bit in the last 10 years, though. So, For Love of the Game, number 3, Sue Me. Number 2. For me, you already touched on it, is Major League. For all the reasons you touched on. As a kid, I just remember watching it on VHS over and over again at my grandparents' house, multiple summers. It's just, cue Jobu, I'll do it myself. Classic moments up and down the line.
Classic.
Absolute classic movie. Love it. Number 2. What's your number 2?
Number 2, and I'm pretty confident most baseball purists are going to say this is way too high. Probably, it may not have even made your top 5. I bet it did not make your top 5. Number 2 for me is Moneyball. I put on Moneyball every March now. It is a ritual for me. I search it up on Amazon, Netflix, HBO, Showtime, wherever I can find it for free. I am streaming Moneyball. Brad Pitt is phenomenal in this. It's very real. The humor in it is fantastic, and the story about Billy Beane reflecting on what baseball did to him, it ate him up, spit him out, but really how he just can't get away from the game at all is really just phenomenal. Again, another really cool song in the movie, played by his daughter, or the actress that plays his daughter. I can't think of the song, but it's a bit iconic for me, and it's a realistic baseball movie. So Moneyball, number 2.
Okay. Well, that's...
realistic is a big thing for me. It cannot. I'm sorry, but what those movies where the kid like gets his dying wish, or I don't know, he wakes up in a dream and he's the manager of the Twins. Like I just can't get down. Little Big League. I just can't. It's just.
I think it was bequeathed to him by his dead grandfather, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, it's the baseball has to look somewhat real, and even if it's really terrible, like those little kids in Bad News Bears.
Go back to your Tom Selleck left-handed swing.
It's got to feel and look real.
That's fair. I will not argue that point. That takes us into our number 1. Sundance, your number 1 all-time baseball movie. Hit me with it.
When I die and go to heaven, I had better see this. I had better see this movie playing on the big screen up there, and it is The Natural. Robert Redford, Wilfred Brimley, a very young Michael Madsen. Kim Basinger's in it. I didn't love her in that, but Glenn Close is really sweet in this movie. And this is one where it is old time baseball. It is back in the 50s. It is it takes you right back to those old baseball documentaries that HBO used to play back in the early 90s when it was a game. And there is just nothing like Wonder Boy, Robert Redford, and the music brings me back immediately. It's a romantic baseball movie, and it gets me every time. My number 1, The Natural.
All right. Well, my number 1, not The Natural.
Not even in your top 5, I noticed.
It's not.
Shame on you.
If I'm being honest,
don't say it.
It doesn't do much for me.
Yeah, well.
It never. And it always came up short. My number 1 baseball movie is also my overall favorite movie of all time. I'm not breaking any news here. This is pretty obvious. It's Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
It will me, Major League is a close second for reasons we already discussed. Field of Dreams, I don't really need to talk much about it. It's pretty obvious. It's iconic. Again, Kevin Costner, I think plays an amazing role. I think it's well written. The screenplay was done very well off Kinsella's novel.
Yep.
I think it just marries real life issues, emotional struggles so well with a supernatural element, with the game of baseball, with Shoeless Joe and his father. I mean, for me, nothing's ever going to top the scene of, want to have a catch. Hey, Dad, want to have a catch. And it'll always come down to that. I admittedly cry like a baby every time I see that scene, including when my daughter had her birthday party in the movie theater for a special screening of Field of Dreams this past May. With people there, having to fight back the sobbing down my cheeks and hope to God those lights did not come up too soon when the credits started. Strikes fear in your heart, let me tell you. But that is
allergies bothering you, Jesse?
Pollen all over the place. The ventilation horrible. But Field of Dreams.
How sweet! What a sweet one. That's a great story. Hey, listen. There are, one big omission that, again, baseball purists would kill us for is 8 men out. And 8 men out was it's probably 6-7. Field of Dreams is probably 6-7 for me, but we did not have 8 men out on here. I don't know if you would count The Naked Gun as a baseball movie, but geez, there's
not personally, but
it's got some pretty cool.
Yeah, you know what? I think that one falls into the whole the same umbrella as is Die Hard a Christmas movie. You can make the argument both ways, which maybe we could talk about that on a future podcast. But no, I'm with you. My honorable mention did include 8 Men Out. Actually, it also included Bull Durham.
Oh, geez. Oh, we are gonna get absolutely torched. We did not have Bull Durham on there.
It's honorable mention. It wasn't a debate for me as far as making the 5 though.
Oh my God!
Really quickly.
Oh.
Another.
I had the Comrades of Summer. Go ahead, keep talking.
You kept it interesting. I mean, it's fine. I also had Rookie of the Year in my honorable mention. Henry Rowengartner. I mean, come on. Henry Rabbleroser. Stu Brigma, pitching coach. Anyway, so all right. I think that was a fun exercise. That was a good top 5. That was enjoyable. Sundance. It's been a good time. This has been lovely. We man, we're gonna wrap this up, but right now we're looking at the Sox, top of the 8th, down 5-0. Oh, with a little bloop. This could be 5-1. No, it's not. Bases loaded, 1 down, top of the 8th. Still 5-0. I'm not getting my hopes up here with this rally. Let's see if we can get a split. Go back to Fenway. With this series not up 1-1, hopefully Pats can come out with a win at Houston with some authority. We don't expect anything necessarily, the offense, etc. We talked about it, but get a win, get home, play the Jets, take care of business there. We'll deal with it. Any closing thoughts?
Listen, playing with house money for the Red Sox. If they get swept, they get swept. I really could care. I'm not going to say I could care less. I could care less. Patriots better win. Gotta win. Must win. This is it. Season's on the line. Need a win on the road, and you gotta get it. Celtics and Bruins coming. Celtics and Bruins talk is coming.
As I say, that's something that we are going to start having to start diving into a little bit in the coming weeks with the Bruins and Celtics coming in. As the Red Sox roll out, we're definitely going to have some coverage of C's and B's coming on. That said, I think that about wraps up the show for tonight. Appreciate everyone if you stuck with us this long. You can find us on social, Instagram, Twitter, at 2 pod. See it down a little ticker below. Follow us there. Comrades of Summer, CCCP. Check it out on any of your streaming services. As Sundance noted, if you can find it for free, preferably in March. Yeah. Although at this rate, you might have to pay for it because it probably has a 29 rating. I think it has a 29 rating on Rotten Tomatoes. If you're stuck with us and you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe. Absolutely destroy us for our top 5. Comrades of Summer Catch, any of that, our tomfoolery, whatever. You can get us the audio version of this podcast if you haven't already on your normal streaming services on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Please rate and review. As we said before, we'll say it again, all part of our world takeover. Please come and join us for the ride. That's the Sundance Kid. I'm Major J. We are the Dos Padres. We're not podiatrists. We're just 2 dudes who are really fond of alliteration. Hasta tus sueños. We are out.
Peace.